Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. Happy Monday. Back at it again, the top of a new week. I hope it is beginning most productively for you so far. It's also in the United States Columbus Day, i.e., Indigenous Peoples Day. So there's that, for take it as you will. I know that evokes a lot of emotion and rhetoric, depending on who receives it, but that's just what it is on the calendar. So, and there's also quite a bit going on in the world, as no one can obviously miss at this time. And I feel welled up inside to speak in different ways, but I'm reserving my comments at this time because it's such a sensitive topic and it's just beginning. But I will say it's what I'm seeing in hindsight is that a lot of these readings, as I say, my readings always have, well, mostly have a personal spin, a general spin, a global spin, and then a universal spin. So depending on, where you're seeing it, it can hit you in all four ways or one in particular. And a lot of what I've been referencing between those four corners, more or less, is coming up now, is showing itself by way of some of the events that we're witnessing happening in real time, But yeah, so anyway, and I didn't even know that I was speaking in that regard, so it's just going to be interesting. Wow, King of Wands. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, how it unfolds. But one thing is for sure, that it is justice season. My aunt, however, Lady Justice, however you see her, karma, am I taking that? Yeah. Karma and dharma even is in full effect, which is why it behooves us even more so to be mindful of our intentions and our actions incessantly. Don't sleep on yourself at this time because it's real out here. So I definitely do send prayers for, because it's not just like, the biggest thing that has kind of jumped off as of over the weekend, but then I just saw a quick headline that there was an earthquake in Afghanistan, and there are natural experiences happening all over the globe as well. So I just pray for peace, how Miss America used to be like, I just pray for world peace. And sometimes you got to go through chaos to get to peace. Oh shoot, that's a lot. Sometimes you do. So we shall see how this all plays out. All right, I feel like, because I really just wanted one, I wanted to know who this Knight of Cups was offering to. So we'll put her there. Oh, okay, works out perfectly. And then these four here. Let's see. All right. So we got the King of Wands, the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Wands. We got the Judgment. Interesting. I didn't even really realize that was Judgment. We got the 10 of Swords. We have the 3 of Pentacles and the 5 of Cups. Okay. All right, let's see here if I can stop obsessing over straightening the cards. Okay. So King of Wands. All right, so the King of Wands, I just keep hearing is taking care of business. He's looking off in some direction towards some ambition, some territory, something, but he's focused on something, taking some action or protecting some territory. I don't know, but he's focused on something. And then we got the Ace of Cups, which is like, divine love, an overflow of spiritual fulfillment. It's true love in a sense. Well, I should say unconditional love is the Ace of Cups. And then we got the Knight of Cups, who looks like he's trying to make an offer to the Queen of Wands. I'm laughing because it's like, I don't know, something feels laughable about this Knight of Cups. Because I feel what I'm sensing is that while the King of Wands is taking care of business, whatever he's doing, it's undisclosed at this time for whatever reason. This Knight of Cups is trying to slide in and trying to offer this Queen of Cups his cup as if it is a derivative or some. It's like he's trying to pass it off as the Ace of Cups, but it's not that at all. It's not the Ace of Cups. It's not unconditional. The Knight of Cups is not even developed enough and emotionally developed enough or available enough in this regard to offer anything to the Queen of Wands, who is looking off in some other direction. So perhaps she's taking care of business or projecting some prospect, or, there's something that she's looking forward to in her own regard as well, but it's not the Knight of Cups, as her head is kind of turned away from him. Then we got the Judgment card, so some final decision has been made either by way of the King of Wands or in the King of Wands' favor is what I actually hear, or it could be both. Maybe whatever he's been handling has kind of turned judgment and justice in his favor. It's whatever action that he's been taking or is taking, or decision making that he's been focused on, has ultimately shifted some type of paradigm, because judgment can also be like a second chance or resurrection or regeneration. And then we got the Ten of Wands, which is about the end of a burdensome cycle, like laying some burdens to rest. Is that the King of Wands, or is that this Knight of Wands is the question. That's the question right there. Because it's the end of a cycle of this flip-flop. You see how it's like they're on either side of this cup, of this Ace of Cups. And the 10 is definitely the end. Oh, so to me, what I'm sensing is it's like a release for one and a pickup for, damn, wow. So there's been a reverse judgment is what I hear. I don't even know what that means legally. I can, surmise just based off of the words, but I don't know exactly like in what case that truly happens. But that's what's going on here. It's like a judgment's been reversed in favor of one and against another by way of this Knight of Cups. And perhaps he don't even realize it yet, because he's still trying to, or he does know, I don't know, but he's still trying to offer a cup. He's trying to make a deal. That's what I hear. He's still trying to forge a deal. And yeah, here's the Three of Pentacles here with the Queen of Wands. But to me, that seems like, I don't know, like, not only does she have her head turned, but he's trying, okay, so he's looking for some absolution from whatever this judgment is. But you're looking at the wrong person. I feel like you should be looking to the divine, trying to fill up that cup at the ace, with the Ace of Cups in this overflow. And perhaps that's the issue, and that's why there's the Five of Cups here, because he's still looking to scheme and plot for some way out of this judgment. I'm hearing because the burden is too heavy to bear, and even the ideal of the burden is too heavy to bear, probably because he knows, or he has an idea anyway of the impact that he's made. And considering if just a fraction of that is returned, you know, it's depressing to him to even consider at this point. And he's looking at Three of Cups spilled, which is crying over spilled milk, crying over what's already been done. So this judgment's already been called. I'm hearing punishment. I'll just say decision has already been made, which is also Judgment card. Decisions have already been made. And it's on account, as I said, of this flip-flop here, where maybe even perhaps he was in a King of Wands position at some point in time, or had the potential to be. But because of some actions that were taken, you know, that have been called into scrutiny, because this is a 10-10, that's a double ending, and then this is a 10. So that's 3 10s on the board. It's like a double, yeah. So this last ditch collaborative effort to kind of prop himself up as this Knight of Wands, to just offer as much of an, you know, to seduce the Queen of Wands into some entanglement of sorts, has failed miserably, because he's miserable here in the Five of Cups. So he pulled a lot of, well, not a lot, but he definitely pulled some resources together by way of this Three of Pentacles, whether it be people or money. Whatever he did, it took all his strength and power to be able to ultimately pull some things together just to have something to try to offer. But either he never even made it there, is what I'm feeling, or, yeah, I'm feeling like he got stopped in his tracks somewhere before he could even make it. Like, he did everything that he could possibly do just to gather his resources for this cup, but then got stopped short before he could even deliver it. And that's why it spilled here in the Five of Cups. Wow. Let's see, the 5 and the 1 is the 4. Oh, a missed opportunity. 4 of Cups is a missed opportunity or rejection. Yeah, something got denied in a big way here. And sometimes with the 3 of Pentacles, I see that as people conspiring against you or conspiring for you. Some expression of higher learning, perhaps, too, could even be a work exchange. So this is the collaborative effort that he orchestrated to help support his endeavor. maybe that fell through. Maybe he put his trust in individuals. And that's why here. So they were presenting themselves to work, and that's why this Three of Cups is spilled. So they were presenting themselves to be working with him when they were actually really working against him. And even if they weren't actually so like plotting his demise on the low, but presenting themselves to be, advocates, or, what do you call it? Not adversaries, but you know what I'm trying to say, like, damn, I hate when I can't find simple ass words. Allies. Present themselves to be allies, but really acting as adversaries. Even if it wasn't that topsy-turvy, because I keep saying flip-flop energy here, it's just that the plot was just never meant to progress in that way. The judgment's already been called here. The decision's already been made and disseminated respectively. So to try to it's like he tried to go over, like, when you go over the authority's head, like, you can't go over the spirit's head to reverse a judgment. You can't do that. Once spirit says it's a wrap, that's it. Once spirit says this is what it is, nobody can really readjust that unless it's within spirit's, desire, or I don't even know what you call it when we're talking about spirit, because certainly there are times in the Bible, as I've spoken about before, where people have bargained with God, in some regard, and God has in fact even changed God's mind. However, it doesn't come on account of thinking that you can't bypass it by way of some earthly force, or even an earthly collaboration, or definitely not by a demonic collaboration such as this can be in a lower vibration. You got to go directly to source to petition for any change in judgment or fate or grace. That's straight from the source. So to think you're going to go over the head of God, that's why I was laughing, like, what are you doing here? Like, no, that's not happening. No wonder it's left such a spirit of despair, depression, mental, emotional instability here. Like, this person is down and out in the Five of Cups, and mainly because they don't see the error of their ways. Even still, they're still looking at how, what's been lost by way of this Three of Cups, when spirit is so graceful that, the mere fact that there's breath in the body is still an opportunity for these two cups to be acquired behind him, for a fresh start, a new beginning, to change his perspective, do something different. It's really up to him as to whether or not he'll take, it's like the judge in spirit, like in man's court. The judge hands down a decision, but you pretty much decide, like, oh no, you can appeal to a higher court, but say you're in the highest court in the land, i.e. the Supreme Court. Like, this is the idea of the Supreme Court now ruling. You can't now go back to your local judicial system and say, I want to revisit. I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. I can't see if you've gone through this is like the expression of someone that's going through all the courts. And don't this kind of look like the justice halls or the justice of peace now that I'm looking at it? Those like ornament buildings on the inside that, the columns have different carvings and things like that. That's what that's giving me now that I'm saying it like this. But like, you've gone through all of the I don't even know, ranks of justice. I don't know a lot of legal jargon, but you've gone through every experience of court, and you get all the way to the Supreme Court. And maybe he's been able to kind of, I'm hearing like either delay or appeal his judgment at every level, So now he's at this highest court, literally the highest court in the land. And this is really an expression of spiritual court, but for all intents and purposes, the Supreme Court says this is the final judgment. This is what is, decided upon for all parties involved. And that's it, case closed. This is the decision on how your terms of punishment, I hate to say the word punishment, but that's the only word that I have here, like how you're going to carry out your sentence. The sentencing, there it is, the sentence, that's what it is that he's trying to overturn. The sentence is there. Not only has there already been a judgment, a ruling, but now there has been a sentencing, and that is the despair and the disturbance in the spirit. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Spirit. I'm struggling here. So yeah, this is almost like perhaps even the jury or some officials in the legal system. Maybe he had some, he had some people, or he thought he had some people under, on payroll or under his belt. And that's why he thought he could perhaps finesse, his way out of this judgment, out of this sentence in some way. Like it was a Hail Mary, really and truly. But like I said, once it's been called down from the judge as to what the sentence is, you can't then go back and reverse the judgment. The sentencing has already, that's what it is. That he's trying to go back and reverse the judgment as if he's not guilty. But it's looking like it's like real fake and phony though, because like I said in the beginning, he's pleading his case to the wrong person by way of the Queen of Wands. Like she don't have no jail or hell or heaven for that matter to put you in, truly. So
It's knocking, but it might be Burberry because I hear her calling me.
okay, well you gotta wait, Jay.
I'm gonna go say yes, and if she asks me, I'm just gonna see who it is.
All right, you can't go outside right now though.
I know.
Pardon me. The kids are out from school, I believe, today, so his little friend is knocking. Knight of Cups, Queen of Wands. That's what I was saying, like he wants some absolution for his trespasses. I don't know, his transgressions, whatever, but it's like, who cares if the Queen of Wands forgives you or absolves you? In the grand scheme of things, you're dealing with a much higher court of law at this point in time, and the burden that makes sense with the 10 of Wands and this this organization here and conspiracy, because perhaps he thought he had it in the bag because he, like I said, he's been able to delay this outcome for a long time. Maybe he's had friends in legal places. Maybe he's had judges in his back pocket. Maybe he's, been able to finesse the system in some type of way that he would continue. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be that he went through all these chains of court and finally comes to Supreme Court, but I feel like it's really that he's been able to evade this judgment for a long time. And now it's like all the wands, not only is this the end of that evasion, but it's like all of the punishment coming down at once. Like, look, from the highest court, right? All of it coming down at once. And now it's time for him to serve his sentence. And that is depressing. That is a daunting, honestly, like, this is energy of someone that don't want to, in this regard, that doesn't even want to live on account of what he's facing. Even with him looking back at the Three of Cups, looking back at perhaps maybe he did some dark work, some dark magic to try to reverse the judgment in some way, like I said, a Hail Mary, but a dark Hail Mary in that regard. And these are the ones that collaborated with him, but they either didn't deliver on what they said they could to give him this, this position to be free to kind of move forward in the Knight of Cups energy, or they never intended to. And so he realizes that he's wasted energy investing in this in the first place for something that didn't work out in his favor. And now he's having to face the music by way of, you know, his fate regarding this sentencing and this judgment. Damn, so somebody could be going to jail. Wow. And look at this. The Four of Cups. That's what I said earlier about the rejection or the missed opportunity, the disparity between the Knight and the Five. Here it is. So whatever he was trying to do, or however I don't get the sense that he has any more appeals to make at this point. No more Hail Marys to fake. And perhaps maybe, because I don't see any pentacles here, it could be very practically so that he doesn't have the resources to fight any longer. But it could just be that this case has run its course as far as it possibly can, and now it's time, you know, it's like he don't want to accept that cup. You know, this is like the spiritual judgment. You know, that's what that's represented here with the Ace of Cups. It's like just desserts by way of the spirit. It's like nothing unfair about it when it's coming from an ethereal source. Now, sometimes we can question it. If I had like the Justice card on here, then it could be questionable as to, is it a fair judgment? Is it, you know, is it justified? You know, maybe were you framed? Were you know, not given a fair shot? All of that stuff when we talk about man's court, as I've been kind of comparing it to. But the Judgment card here is more about spiritual decision. It's like, it can't be overturned as in such a way as it can be with court of the land. And he's having a hard time accepting that fate here. It's probably a very bitter cup to swallow, unfortunately. And then you got the Strength card here, which is about ego and pride. Well, I hear like he's having to exchange his ego for strength, for true strength to overcome this great burden. You know, it's an upheaval, you know, to really overcome emotionally and also physically. Someone facing any type of jail time or spiritual imprisonment, physical or spiritual imprisonment, it's going to cause for great strength to overcome being ultimately devoured by this beast, which is what? Your pride and your ego, your lower nature. Let me get one more after this Six of Cups, which is, okay, we got the Chariot card here. See, the Six of Cups is like, it's like nostalgia. I'm wondering, where is this coming from? This is the interest, and it's under this Three of Pentacles as well. I'm hearing something karmic here with the Six of Cups, because it's like a reemergence of either a past life experience, or past life cycle experience, meaning something that in some cycle of his life, in this breath of existence, there was something he was to overcome, whether it be a redo or, you know, to clear some karmic, clear some karma, to overturn something that perhaps happened in the past, or to transcend some experience of toxicity, perhaps. That's what the Six of Cups is giving me now. It doesn't have to be that low vibrational, but in this regard, as I'm talking right now, it feels like he missed that opportunity. He was supposed to have great strength, and he had spiritual assistance with the Ace of Cups. He had the anointing to overcome this great feat, to have this second chance, to have this regeneration from past cycles of karmic experience that in this lifetime or in this life cycle were supposed to be released. And he didn't do that. That's why the judgment has commenced in the way that it has, because he was given ample opportunity. Like, that's what I was saying about unconditional love from the spirit. He was given that chance, but he looked at it more as too much of an upheaval to take that course of action. If I can make him now this King of Wands energy, like reference him as that King of Wands, when I said before, maybe he had the potential to be that, but he turned away from it and was looking at other things. Like he found his focus in some other function of sorts, and not, from the source of his own ambitions is what I hear, but not from the source of this spiritual spring of life. This literally the universe giving you the nourishment and the vitality to overcome some great struggles in your life, as we all have had to face. He rejected that support for perhaps something that was more gratifying, more carnally gratifying. Yeah. And it didn't pan out very well, because the only pentacles on the board so far are just the 3. 3 out of 10. Yeah, and this 10 represents a cycle, like 10-year cycle. Perhaps the last Jupiter cycle is when this testing ground was taking place, where that was the prime time for all of us to undo some doings of our past life and of our past experience beyond that cycle. We had the opportunity, and it was a great feat to overcome for everyone. It was not easy. It wasn't easy for anyone. So there's that, justifiably so. It was tough. It calls for a lot of strength to not get finessed by your own carnal desires, to not fall victim to your pride, or at least not to be devoured by it. There's one thing, we all get in our pride and ego from time to time as human beings, but to be devoured and consumed by it was hard not to do, because we all got faced with the greatest challenges in our lives, and it was unique to whomever you were. By way of the 6 of Cups, this is a very unique experience. It's an expression of something that's familial or familiar that only you can really attest to, and it's something that only you have the invitation to overcome or to shift. And what literally with the Chariot card here, this was the invitation to overcome something in the past that perhaps had held generations down, when we're talking about clearing karma, which is why it's coming up in such a way as the 6 of Cups, because this is something that was reoccurring, a cycle of experience, emotionally, spiritually, even perhaps, that would have taken a lot to beat, like your own little personal war is what's been going on for a lot of us in the past, like 10, 12 years, really. All right, so let's get a few more at the bottom. Can I get 4 more, Spirit? That's a little more than 4, but I'll take it. So we got, yeah, ooh, yikes. And I hear this very clearly with these 2 in my hand. This is what he could have and should have had if he had done things lawfully, spiritually so. And perhaps there was even some, as above, so below, there perhaps were even some natural laws that were broken which is why it's planned, like why I keep making reference to, you know, the court of man, and it not just being confined to spiritual court, which, I mean, listen, it's not even a just situation, because spiritual court can be even more more brutal than man's court. But one thing about it is it will always be fair. But the thing about spiritual court is, like, whereas in the court of the land and natural court, you may be able to, like I said, he probably has gotten over in some ways, because men are more susceptible by way of their pride and ego to be bent and shaped one way or another. So he could have paid off some judges. He could have had a lawyer that was really, you know, that was really dirty, I'll say that, or just knew how to fight and knew how to play in the mud in some regard. Just, you know, good in terms of what was needed, obviously, but that knew how to work the system. He could have known some clerks, you know, that could finagle some, you know, as evidence or documents or something. He could have had any array of allies within the actual justice system by way of this Three of Pentacles. But when it comes, and they would all be susceptible to a so-called deal. You know, that's what I said earlier, that he was trying to cut a last-minute deal. They would be susceptible to that because they're human. But the spirit sees all, and it sees from beginning to end and back to beginning again. So you can't finesse the spirit. Like, that's why I was saying earlier, like, you're trying to go over the spiritual force and source by way of a lower denomination in regards to, you know, man's court, and you're still trying to work his magic on that level. But once the spirit calls judgment, that's it. There really is nothing more to be said about it. So that's the disparity here, is that once it's been called by way of the universe, you then have to ante up. You know, you have to pay that restitution. You got to pay the fines. You got to do your time. And usually, like I said, unless you really go and petition the spirit in a very pure way, you're not getting off for good behavior. You have to more or less, you have to serve your sentence based on exactly the seeds that you sowed, the crime that you committed, whatever it be, whatever it was judged to be or decided to be. Whereas in the court of the land, you might be able to shave off some time, finesse your way into good behavior, or looking like a supreme citizen in some way, shape, or form. The spirit knows your heart. So you can't finesse your way out of that time again, unless you're going to the spirit in grace and petitioning purely for absolution, for redemption, for regeneration, resurrection, something, whatever it is you're looking for. You would have to be pure in heart and able to get the spirit to move on your behalf. And someone that's still looking to, you know, to get around, and by that way, in order to really move the spirit, you have to be willing to ultimately do your time in the first place, to like repent, you know, to really take responsibility for your actions and the energy that you've expelled. Not repenting so much in the religious sense as it is really just coming to terms with who you're being and what you've done, and showing some responsibility and accountability for it in the way that you want to make a change, like a real change. You see the error of your ways and you want to do something, be something, have something different in life. And not necessarily in that order. You need to want to be something and then do something different to have a different outcome. And then maybe God's grace may shine upon you, but not by way of you trying to present yourself to be innocent, or knowing that you're not innocent, but trying to finagle a way to, like I said, reverse the judgment or forge a different outcome. That's not a humble heart. That's not a spirit that is repentant for what he or she has done. That's someone that just wants to hit another lick. And all you do in that regard is just add more burdens onto your back, a longer. So this is like him working in the yard. Yeah, and this is the energy here, like this Knight of Wands energy, still looking to move it out of lust, even more diffused than the potential of the King of Wands that he could have been. And that's the only high potential here on this board at this time, is for him to, he wants to go feverishly and passionately towards some other outcome. Once again, rejecting spiritual nourishment and moving toward more of his carnal nature, which is what the Knight of Wands do. He's lustful, he's overambitious at times in the lower vibration. His passion is sometimes perverted, it's a little bit distorted. It's definitely not holistically pure, and he's not dependable in his action taking. And therefore, he continues to sow seeds that are not altogether prosperous or productive. So he's like wasting energy here, or has wasted energy going after some outcome that was not due to him by any means and wasn't justified for the exchange. And now is thoughtful as to why it's only brought, and this is the most pentacles we've had, which does equal to 10, but it's like the completion, because even though it's the 10, well, here we got the 5 here, but even though it's the 3 and with the 7 here is the 10, it's like he hasn't harvested 10. He's only really harvested 1 from that bush. He's still leaving 6 other pentacles behind. And obviously that was, for the most part, the ambition in the first place for doing what he was doing, material gain and prosperity and, yada, 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 the usual rigmarole. But he still, even with all the energy that he's expelled, all the chances that he took, all the deals that he made, he still isn't complete even in that regard. He still didn't make what he expected to make. Instead, now he's regressed from the 7 to the 5, which is total disparity. Materially so, anyway. And unfortunately so, with this 9 of Swords, that's very much so an expression of jail. And like I said, this is like him working in the yard. So now all that energy that you expel, literally all this divine strength that you were anointed to have, so much, trusted so much so that you were given spiritual support. That means somebody, perhaps your ancestors, by way of the 3 of Pentacles, angels, angelic realms, way showers, guides, they entrusted you to overcome, to change the trajectory of the fate of a generation, to change the path of your past, and you squandered it. You had all of this support and intel, real support in the higher vibration, true allies in the spiritual realm, to do something spectacular, ordained to be the warrior, the chosen one to carry that charge to success and victory, and you decided to be a Knight of Wands instead of being this powerful chariot warrior here. You chased your own ambitions and said, F them kids. F the generations that come after me. F my ancestors. That's essentially what you said. What he said. Sometimes I speak like that. That's essentially what was expressed here. That he'd rather sow seeds into his own garden for his own gratification, and it ultimately didn't yield the results that he was looking for. So what I was saying is all of that energy he was blessed with to do something spectacular was displaced into perverted passion, impure passion, and now he's getting to use all of that energy divinely given to him to pretty much work for somebody else's bottom line. This is him working in the yard of whatever facility he's on his way to or in right now. Working in the yard for literally pennies on the dollar, because that's how they do in the prison system. You have to work more. Well, I don't think you have to, but I think everybody gets some type of assignment of sorts. Or I don't know, maybe it is even a privilege to work in there because, yeah, I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think you have to, but there are certain assignments that are better than others, that's for sure. And there's a scarcity of those assignments from my experience, because I've had experience being on the outside of someone that was on the inside, unfortunately so. And it's a very terrible experience on either side. If you're someone supporting someone on the inside, it's awful. If you're on the inside looking for support on the outside, it's awful. Nobody wins when incarceration is in the midst of it all. And it's quite sad indeed in this Nine of Swords and this Five of Pentacles. You know, it's like his worst nightmares coming true in this regard, that not only is he not free to be, you know, as he was before, now he's forced to work by way of supporting himself, because that's the thing, like when you do have an assignment or work detail in jail, you're getting paid pennies on the dollar, but hell, if you don't have support, which is what I'm picking up here, if you don't have support on the outside by way of this Five of Pentacles, you feeling left out in the cold. That means like family may not be riding out that sentence with him. Friends long gone. No spouse or shit, or maybe she in there too, I don't know, perhaps, but there's nobody really on the outside that's willing to really hold you down. And even as I've heard it said before from another person that I knew that did time, there wouldn't be enough that anybody could ever do for you when you're on the inside that would even make a difference. You always need more, because it's such a desolate place, literally desolate by the Five of Pentacles, place to be, that a card every day and overflowing commissary and visits once a week still doesn't fill that hole inside of you when you have to ultimately go to sleep on that hard cot behind those bars or that gate or whatever it is every night. Nothing can really suffice and nourish you. So, damn. God damn. This is terrible. So this is pretty much the sentence here. And I mean, this could be 9 years as I'm reading it here. Could be 10 with the 10 of Wands. Yeah. And perhaps it was on account of some mismanaged investments or something, you know, something funny with money, as to how he's been caught up in man's court. Now that's man's court, you know. Spiritually, it was the mismanagement of his destiny that ultimately brought the hammer down, the judgment down. The physical, yeah, it was definitely money. So either some just something lower vibrational, maybe embezzlement or fraud, perhaps, some type of scheme or scam by way of money, because he's sowing here over and over again. It's some type of scam, sowing over and over again, but only yielding one pentacle, but having the expectation for all of it. You know, that was what he expected to have. So he pretty much threw away his freedom on a scam. Also by way of this Three of Pentacles energy, probably a group collaborative effort that didn't even yield the desirable fruits in the end. completely wasted energy. So you wasted your energy physically, not getting back materially what you expected, and you wasted your spiritual energy and anointing, not overcoming the tests and trials that you were ordained to do. So not just for you, but for your legacy, for your for the children that were to come, and for your ancestors that paved the way for you to have access to this level of spiritual support in the first place. Because that has to be the case before you can even have access in this life, that somebody sacrificed something for you to be here, for you to have the opportunity that you have. And it's a big smack in the face to the divine when you decide that it doesn't mean as much to you as silver and gold, ultimately. Pentacles, money, material gain, prestige, man's measure of success. It's a sad story here. So someone may be going to prison or may already be there, I don't know. Their time may not be very favorable, at least at first. Maybe the first 5 years or so will be hard, and maybe as he begins to lighten up or really change his ways, maybe that's where he'll find himself, where he just will have to overcome. Because if I'm thinking about it, when I'm talking about in terms of cycles, for the most part, if you didn't do well in this past cycle, as I explained it, the last 10, 12 years or so, you have to redo that cycle again, but it's not exactly as it was before. The stakes are much higher and harder because you don't have the same grace of spiritual support that you had throughout this 10, 12 years. Like there was a covering over you to do something for the sake of, the greatest good of all. So you had extra support to do it, but when you relinquish that support or sacrificed it, ultimately it doesn't follow you in this next cycle. So you'll have to still meet the same tests and trials, maybe as I said before, maybe a little bit harder because you've compounded more interest onto that karma by way of the 10 of Wands, because you didn't clear it in the last cycle or in the last life or in this life from the last life. So you've compounded the pressure onto yourself, and you have less spiritual support, maybe perhaps even less physical support by way of family and friends, and you truly are still accountable for overcoming that feat, if you so choose to. Because like I said, some people, I don't know, I feel like there's a desire to want to check out, but I don't think that that's what's going to be. I don't think he's going to be able to. I don't think he's going to be able to. It's given, death would be too easy at this point for all that. That would just be like the easy way out of the sentence at this point, to just give up the ghost. I think if he even tries to, he's going to be, that's one thing that's going to sustain is that resurrecting power. He won't, it's like I've said before with this, recently with this nine of swords, it's like Groundhog Day. Like every day you wake up and it's the same thing over and over again. And you go to sleep and you think that day is done, and then you wake up and you're right back at it. I don't think he's going to be able to escape this until he shifts his mentality, until he finds his way back to his spiritual source and force. Then maybe perhaps he may have access again. I don't even want to put it down there, to be honest. I don't even want that energy touching it. That's crazy, right? But this Four of Wands, and I shouldn't be like that, but it's the truth. I feel that way, that he perhaps could have access to that, he could. But let me tell you, if he thought it was hard to maintain in this past cycle and in this past life experience that he's had, he's going to need a lot of strength. Peace be with him, ultimately. to overcome this battle. This is what he could have had if he had followed the steps of the divine, this anointing. And it was hard. It was hard for everyone. Nobody had any less of a challenge to face when it came down to choosing your higher self. Finding stability and grounding in your actions amidst the world that really compels you to do the very opposite of what your spirit tells you to do, and still choosing that self above all, choosing your highest vibration, committing to it, accepting the spiritual support, accepting the call, the anointing on your life. That wasn't even a that was a hard challenge in itself, to just accept that I'm worthy of something more than what I see. That's hard to even hear, let alone believe, when you're surrounded by people that you watch and do it the dirty way. Like I said, it was some type of money scheme going on here. And when you're seeing people get over day in and day out, it's easy to finesse yourself out of, forever, thinking that right now is what matters most. Like, I'm gonna get this money now. They don't look, looking at people looking like they have all the power in the world and the money to show for it is a great illusion. And it was hard to avert your spiritual and physical eyes from that reality without getting swept up in it. It was hard. It was hard to overcome this battle right here and really exercise spiritual strength above all. But if it had been done, and for those that have done it, this is the reward. 4 of Wands, healthy, harmonious, balanced, stable partnerships and relationships or establishments, even if it's with self, but this is support. The adverse of this 5 of Pentacles, where there's a lack of support and stability and security in that regard. This is being in a stable home, safe and sound, with people that you love, in relationships that value you and that you value, that prop you up to be your best self, that support that aspect of you and add to it, as a matter of fact, and therefore you do the same. It's like a reciprocal. This is a beautiful exchange right here by way of the 4 of Wands and the 2 and the Lovers. Like, that's happily ever after vibes. This is true love for real. I said that earlier with the Ace of Cups and said it was unconditional love. This is that and more. Unconditional love between these 2 individuals, and true by way of the anointing of the spirit, because they've both proven in both of these cards, it's about showing and proving that you're willing to be surrendered to your spiritual nature and committed to your spiritual nature in the highest vibration above anything else. And that makes you an attractive force for that partner that's divinely designed for you. And so you live your life happily ever after, in whatever unique way that's designed for you to do so. Emperor card here, that's establishments. And here's another 2 of Cups, somebody on the same page. And I'm getting like the Emperor is on the outside looking in from this, though, because this is representative of that controlling, like that energy that just wants to control. And okay, that's what it was. This was ultimately the influence against these divine partnerships that were destined, that had an anointing by way of the cup energy again to stay in place. But see how almost like this entity is lording over it. This was the challenge to put yourself in alignment by way of those tests and trials with people that were on the same page as you. That this is like 2 people that share the same sentiment, contracts that are justified, contracts that are upright. You could go one way or another, and it's already been expressed here that this individual, by way of the Knight of Cups, who maybe could have been the King of Wands or turned away from being the King of Wands in some regard, dismissed the opportunity to be in partnerships that were balanced and fair by way of the Two of Cups. He took the narcissistic approach with the Emperor card here, and the way of the world ultimately is what this is giving me. He saw himself to be more in control outside of the function of this couple capacity, somehow in it but out of it at the same time. So he found ways to control this vibration and this vitality from the outside in, maybe even from the inside out, I don't know. But his focus was more on being the controller of all of love energy and love exchange than being the recipient and the receiver and you know what I'm trying to say, the giver and the receiver of it. It's like he didn't see if you look, his eyes are even kind of looking to the other way, as they are even in the Knight of Wands, and I mean the King of Wands in this case. Okay, and so now that's why he tried to run back all of a sudden and tried to now I get it now. It's about love. It's about true love, real commitment, pure, passion. Now he wants to come back, but he's only in the Knight of Cups energy because he's ultimately poured out the Ace of Cups that was due to him. He couldn't even really offer this energy equally if he tried, and he did try, and he couldn't because it wasn't equal enough to offer. It wasn't balanced. It wasn't reciprocal to what, say, a Queen of Wands even would have the expectation for. She's not even looking for a Knight of Wands at this point in time. Her equal is the King of Wands. And it's looking like they both got their mind on business and how they can probably manifest in each other in some fantastical way. So it's like he missed the boat on opportunities where he could have been a match for someone that would have kept him in alignment and ultimately would have exalted him or elevated him to this position of power, which is what he ultimately idealized, literally idolized in the first place. It was all about power, authority, and control. But by his way of obtaining it, he would have had it if he had followed the steps that were spiritually ordered. He took too many shortcuts and cut too many corners to have it the pure way. And now he's on the outside looking in because people are having it their way in this regard. It's here. It was always available. The timing of it all, may have been longer than he wanted to bear, but it was always possible, and it was much more fulfilling. Like with the Seven of Pentacles here under here, it's like he was spending his time and energy anyway, but he was gratified by the more immediate results in a material form. To have overcome in a spiritual sense, as it was laid out for him to do so, here it would have taken the same amount, maybe even more energy and effort to do so, but it would have required more patience for him to wait for the return. But once that return got there, though, he could have potentially gone from a mere chariot warrior to the emperor, the head of all his estate, the sole proprietor of all. You ain't even got to see no pentacles in the emperor card to know he's loaded in some way, shape, or form. And if nothing else, he's definitely the most powerful in all the land. So
Congrats on 100 subscribers.
Thank you, Jay. So he missed a grand opportunity to have the fullest expression of his desires. He cut corners and cut himself out of his own wish fulfillment, is what it comes down to. And now he has to go and serve his sentence humbly, modestly, with hopes. Here's hoping that he has a regenerative moment in that despair that will ultimately bring him to a place where perhaps he can find his way to his inheritance again. Here's hoping. All right, I'm gonna go now. Yeah, don't really know. That was kind of a strange one for me. I don't know. Yeah, is there anything more to say about this? The Emperor kind of threw me off a little bit, because it's like, because there's something more about this Emperor and this Two of Cups that I feel like I'm not checking in on. What is he over top of? The Strength card. I don't know. It could be him just having spent all his energy and time working for the system, you know, society as the matrix ultimately, and getting caught up in those entanglements. Or it could be representative of someone in particular that he was in debt to in some way, shape, or form. And that entanglement, even in a more actual practical sense, is what caused his ultimate demise. I don't know, I'm just feeling something strong about the Emperor being representative of not just a system, but an actual person in a position of power. Maybe that was the deal, the contract that overturned everything. Yeah. But I guess this, doesn't really matter to dissect it now at this point, because we're all responsible for our own actions at this point. You can't, even if it was all on account of this Emperor whom he got caught up with, and maybe he's the real culprit in some regard, or whatever the case may be, we all have our choices. So we gotta ride out our sentence accordingly, whatever that may be. And karma and dharma, there is no injustice when it comes to spiritual court. All is fair, all is balanced, all is justified. All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. As my son just said, he interrupted to congratulate me on 100 subscribers. So congratulations to me and to you and to us and to all those that are subscribed at this point. I am absolutely going to do a 100 subscribers giveaway as promised. There's still a couple items that I'm waiting for to come in regards to the prize. And when I have everything, that's when I'm going to make the official announcement of how you can enter to win, and and I'll show you what the actual prize is at that point. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, please do so, because only subscribers have a chance to win. And tell a friend, why don't you, if you will. Like, subscribe, share, do whatever, however you feel moved or guided to engage. I do appreciate your presence tremendously. I'm very excited about the way that this channel has grown. And I'm excited to keep going, honestly. So thank you for listening again. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And until next time, as always, I leave you with peace.